So we will continue with the cryptography applications. Okay, so whenever the with respect to the cryptography usage in the electronic ID issue, in that only we'll see some more methods what are needed and how will it be used. We'll discuss about it. Okay, so when the electronic ID card is issuing, so how will it be done, we will see that. Okay, so here first the applicant will be applying that. Okay, so usually like whenever we want a Aadhaar ID card, how will we apply? Okay, similar to that we will apply for the electronic ID card, it will be applied to the local government office. Okay, so the registration authority, they will take it. Okay, they'll consider the electronic ID card request. Then after that, from the local government office, it will go to the card personalizer. Okay, it will go to CP. Okay, and the national registry also will get notification about it. NRS refers to national registry. They also will get notified about it. Okay, so after that, what will happen? The card personalizer, they will create a new ID card. Okay, and it will be it will generate the key pairs. Okay, so if there are any master key pairs and all needed, they will be generated and they will be written on the card. Okay, so that will be sent to the citizen certification authority as well as to the national register. Okay, and whatever there written on the uh, whatever the certification serial number. Okay, so that using that only the certificates will be authorized. Okay, the whether it is between the national register and the card personalizer, or uh, between the other hierarchy what we have discussed in the previous class. Okay, so the certification authority, whatever it is generated for citizen certification authority, that will be written to the card personalizer. So they only will generate they will manufacture the card. So they will write into the card. They will get that and they'll write into the card. Okay. Then whatever the remaining all the identity file, identity details into the identity file, and address details into the address file, so everything will be written. Okay, so in this way it will be, the card will be issued. Okay, and the card personalizer, he will send the information to national registry to activate the code. Okay, and second activation code, AC2, that is the pin number. Okay, along with the pin number, it will be sent to the applicant, to the citizen who will be accessing it. Later if we want to change it, we can change the pin number. Okay, it's not the permanent one. If we want to change it, we can edit it. Okay, then after that, the registration authority, right? So they will be having the AC2, what is shared with the applicant. Okay, on the card it will be there. Okay, it will be combined with the AC1, which is known to national registry. Okay, so all those things will be written on the database. Okay, so then the certification authority has to activate for issuing the card. Okay, so the same process will happen whenever we are revoking the card also. Okay, so here if you see, the applicant will send the request, I want the electronic ID card. That request will be sent to the registration authority, okay, RA. Then it will be forwarded to the national registry. From there, the request will be forwarded to the card personalizer who will manufacture the card. Okay, then again, the national registry will ask for the digital signature also. Okay, so that also will be sent to the card personalizer. It will be forwarded to the citizen certification authority. So after receiving it, after the citizen CA receive the certification request, he will forward the certificate back to the card personalizer. Okay, so card personalizer only will generate the card. Okay, so now the authentication information along with the PIN number will be sent to the applicant. The same information will be sent to the registration authority also. Okay, so same thing, he will, that card he will transfer to registration authority. Okay, and the authentication information he will send to the card manufacturer, they'll send to national register. Okay, so now the registration authority, they have received the card from the card personalizer. It will be forwarded to the applicant. Okay, so in this way, see here, who will perform the card generation and writing the personal details and the address details? The card personalizer. See here, he only will create the card, he will write the details onto the card. Okay, so now if how will the certificate revocation can be done? Okay, so for revoking the public key certificate, there are certain things have to happen. If it the card become unauthorized. Okay, so what are the special situations when this certificate can be revoked? It will be taken back. It won't be valid anymore. There are two situations. Okay, so if it is issued for the people who are less than age 18, okay, so if they have used it and if they say that okay they have not used, okay, non-reputation access, if it has happened, it will be revoked. And for the people who are less than age 6, right, the authentication verification key, they are minor, right? So some adults has to monitor, so for them the authentication verification key will be revoked for the children, small children. Okay, so we'll see the continuation of the EAD certificate uh, revocation. What are the various steps will happen? Okay, so here the certification revocation list, that will be called as CRL, for which people it has to be revoked. So all those list will be sent. Okay, so all these details about certificate and card holders, okay, who are the registry, so all those details will be there in the repository, in the database. Okay, so every time the CRL will be renewed. Okay, new CRL will be created for every 3 hours. Okay, and that will be called as delta CRL, whatever we are changing. Okay, so that will be returned to the that will be stored into the latest base CRL. Okay, certificate revocation list, which are all the people whose EID certificates are revoked. All those details will be written here. Okay, so for this, the key, we are going to use the public key cryptography mechanism. So what is the key length here? 2048 bit RSA algorithm will be used. So RSA is a public key algorithm. Okay, so now how will be the electronic ID signature validity happen, we will see. Okay, so there are two different periods of time where the electronic ID signature validity happens. Okay, the first one is if some particular incident which should not happen, if it has happened, due to that the revocation may happen. Okay, the another one is the digital signature may be expired. Okay, so it will be valid for only particular duration of time, but if it is expired, then we have to revoke it. Okay, so after that time we cannot use it. So here, for that, whenever the digital signature is expired, we have to revoke the electronic ID card. It is no more valid. Okay, maybe like for every 10 years they have to renew, means we have to renew. Otherwise, the digital signature on it will not be valid, so we cannot use the EID card. We have to submit it back. We have to renew our EID card. Okay, so who is helping us by providing the digital signatures? The third party will help us in creating the certificates uh, which are needed for generating the digital signature for the data whatever we are transferring. Okay, so whenever we are using our EID card for verification, that time it will be used. So here, for example, Alice is having the EID card, electronic ID card. Okay, so she is using it with some vendor, okay, some third party who wants to verify using the EID card. So she will be using her digital signature for that. Okay, so signature A. Okay, so A is a key what she will be using to sign her data, and then she has to use the key, digital signature key, which is shared among the party who is going to verify her data. Okay, so TTP is a trusted third party with whom she will be sharing it. Okay, along with that timestamp also she will use. Okay, she will use means her system will use. Okay, so here if the trusted third party, if they have the Alice digital signature, no, so when they receive it, once if they receive it, in the future, no need that they have to validate her once again, because already the trust is established between Alice and the trusted third party. Okay, and for the particular amount of time that is valid, that verification key what they have shared, okay, among Alice and trusted third party, it is valid, TTP. So after that particular amount of time, the time elapses means that trusted third party's verification key will be expired. Okay, so once again she has to acquire that verification key. Okay, so what are the different security issues involved in cryptography with respect to electronic ID? So here, how are we going to incorporate the digital signature over the smart cards? Okay, so how we have seen for the debit cards or credit cards, right? So similarly, how are we going to incorporate the digital signature capacity over it? That's the first issue. Second one is, how are we going to manage the key? What is a master key going to be stored in the electronic ID card? Okay, then how it will be protected, and how will it be useful for generating the session keys? Okay, so and how the session keys will be encrypted and transferred through the public key algorithm, that are all like challenging issues here. Okay, and if some cards are fraudulently issued, okay, if there are any cloned smart electronic ID cards are issued by the card manufacturers or some other fraudulent people, how are we going to handle it? These are all the different security issues here. So now let's discuss about electronic ID card design consideration. So we are going to make use of public key cryptography, so that will be used to transfer the session keys safely. So using the session keys, the confidentiality will be provided for the for transferring the electronic ID card details for the verification purpose with some government offices, like for registering the properties or registering the vehicle information. For that and all, we can use it. Okay, so in their side, whatever the service they have, they will use it. And most of the time, publicly known algorithm they will use for this purpose. They are not going to use any proprietary algorithms. Okay, similar to the mobile operators, right? They will not use any proprietary algorithms, cryptography algorithm. They will not use. And we have seen about the certification authorities, how will be the route will be there, then the other certification authority, how will they receive from the root certification authority and pass it on to the card issuing authority and all. Okay, so that we have seen in the previous session. Okay, and here the data, like the personal information, the identity details like date of birth, name, their photographs and all, right? And any special information like they are disabled or not, all those data will be stored in the identity file, and their address information will be there in the address file. So all those will has to be encrypted and transferred through the session keys. Okay, so to generate the session keys and transfer them between the card holder device. Okay, they may use their browser to enter the card details and transfer, or they may use the card reader uh, put up in the verification party. Okay, then we should have the flexibility. Okay, so always it should not say that you have to access your card only through the card reader. Okay, so nowadays we use, right, debit card, we can use it in the ATM, we can use it for paying in the shops or malls, or we will use it for purchasing some item by entering the debit card details. Okay, OTP will be sent to us. That's a challenging question it will ask. Okay, so dynamic password will be used in such application. So the electronic ID card also should provide the flexibility. Okay, so these are the design considerations. So now let's move on to cryptography for anonymity. So in the internet there are so many people, will be using for simple browsing or sending the mails, or doing the conference over the internet. So many applications we will perform over the net. So in such situation, how the cryptography provide the anonymity, that's what we are going to discuss from hereafter. Okay, so some identity related data, if we have, when it is transferred over the internet, how are we going to provide the anonymity, how are we going to ensure that privacy is maintained? Okay, so even though our names, date of birth, our blood group and our address details, if they are truncated also, from which system we are transferring the details, they might be encrypted, our personal details, but from which system we are transferring that IP address, how are we going to provide the anonymity over it? Okay, so that's a challenge here. So we are going to discuss how can we provide it using cryptography. So for that, the tar can be used. Okay, so now let's discuss about the tar background. So this tar tool will help us to provide the anonymity over our data transfer. Okay, so some of the users will be there. So uh, so, s- so they so some of the users will be there. Okay, so who will ordinary internet users will be there. Okay, so they will be uh, accessing the internet provisions. Okay, so the commercial companies and all, they will steal their data. Okay, so in such situation, how are we going to provide the uh, privacy of the data, how are we going to anonymous the data? The next one is, if the internet users in different countries are there. Okay, so if there are any in some of the countries low tolerance for speaking will be there. Okay, if they talk about the country or particular party or particular player or particular game, if they talk about it, no government will object it. Okay, so in such cases how are they going to uh, provide the privacy preservance? That's the second one. And the third one is, if there are journalists and investigators, okay, so when they perform their projects, how are they going to secure it? They may be involved in sensitive projects, as we know. Okay, so private detective agencies or the journalists, no, they will deal with sensitive data. So when they share their data over the net, how they are going to transfer it? Okay, so securely how they are going to transfer it, so nobody will steal their data and corrupt their data. Okay, so for these purposes the tar tool will be used. Okay, so this star project is one of the non-profit project. It's launched in 2002. Okay, so 1 million users around they are using it. Okay, and it provides anonymity for the users, so whoever uses it, it provides anonymity. Okay, so which things we are accessing, which website we are accessing, which YouTube channel you are accessing, all those things, no, will can be hidden by the from the other people, from the other companies. Okay, that's what people want, right? So if it is available for everybody, like what you are browsing through, accordingly they will start. But nowadays it is like what we are browsing or what we are seeing, no, accordingly we start getting the recommendation for purchasing the items. Okay, we don't prefer it, but sometimes we like it. Okay, we will see. Uh, like sometimes really we wonder if we are searching for a book or some external hard disk, right? Immediately you will get the recommendation in. I may be searching about external hard disk in my Google, but in YouTube it may start suggesting me how to use the external hard disk. Okay, okay, so which will be better? Okay, these kind of things are quite danger, but they are stealing our private log files, and based on that recommendation they are providing. Because we know that they are like working one with another, no? The softwares like this YouTube, Google, and all. That's why like they work hand with one another, and accordingly they will get the recommendation. One way it's good, but still sometimes no, we feel privacy has to be preserved. So now let's see what are the tar security requirements. Okay, so for providing the anonymity over our browsing history or what you are accessing in the internet, okay, what data you transfer through the mail or over the conferences, right, over the Google Meets kind of online activities, if you want to secure it, cryptography will provide the support for that. Okay, we have to completely depend on cryptography for that. For that only the star tool kind of tools will be effectively helpful for us. So now let's see uh, what are the major security services provided by tar for anonymous purpose. Okay, so the first one is unilateral entity authentication, second one is data integrity, third one is confidentiality, and the fourth one is perfect forward secrecy. Okay, so here whenever you are registered to use a tar network, we have to be aware that the intermediaries will be used. Okay, we call something like onion routers will be used for that purpose. Okay, so we when we log into that network, okay, the tar server will authenticate us. So here we are not using mutual entity authentication, but unilateral entity authentication is used. That tar server has to authenticate us. Okay, and whenever we initiate the communication, certain things we have to know, like to which what is the next hop which is going to receive our data. Okay, that we'll see, like we'll see the algorithm, how will it work for that. Okay, and whenever, for example, Alice is there and if she is transferring the data to Bob, okay, so always she has to make sure that her data is securely transferred. For that, confidentiality will be helpful. That's why encryption will use that. And to make sure that the third person, okay, the attacker has not changed the data, corrupted the data. For that purpose, the data integrity will be used. Okay, so for that, digital signature will be done at the Alice end, that will be validated at the Bob side. If Alice and Bob are sender and receiver. And another, the fourth important thing is perfect forward secrecy. Okay, even when we were discussing about Diffie-Hellman also, we have discussed the same. For example, if you are transferring your, if Alice want the key from Bob. So when Bob is sending the key, he'll be thinking that okay, Alice is actually the original user. It's not impersonated, but it may happen that Alice will send the request. The intruder, okay, or the adversary will capture that request. After some time, he will replay that. He will stop the communication between Alice and Bob, and he will make the communication among them through him. Okay, so if he keeps monitoring like that, what will happen? He will learn the key, what is used for their data transfer. Okay, so how this perfect forward secrecy they are going to manage. Okay, so the adversary is capturing what Alice request, and he will forward to Bob. Bob will uh, send his key, okay, thinking that Alice is the actual user. But this intruder, he will capture it. He will send, he has received the actual key from the Bob, and he will generate his own key, and that he will transfer to Alice. Alice will think that that is a key what she has received from Bob. Okay, so this keeps on happening. Okay, so again Alice will send the data encrypted through the key, so that the intruder, what he'll do, he will decrypt, he will read the message, and again he will encrypt using the key what he has received from the Bob, and he will transfer to Bob. Okay, so this is like the forwarding secrets, he captured it, he is using it very effectively, that intruder. So this has to be considered when the anonymity is going to be provided by Tor tool. Okay, so let's see how they provide it. So the major cryptographic components provided by Tor, okay, in support of cryptography is, they'll use public key cryptography. Okay, they'll be using 1024-bit RSA, okay, and 256-bit elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman based on curve 25519. Okay, so that algorithm they'll use. The key length is very long. Okay, so to break the key to get, because they will use a public key to transfer the session key. Those session keys only will be used for the confidentiality purpose. Okay, so for confidentiality provision, they'll use a symmetric encryption. So for here, the symmetric encryption will make use of advanced encryption standard with the key length of 128 bit. Okay, and for authentication purpose, here digital signatures will be used. Okay, so again for signing the data, okay, 1024-bit RSA digital signatures will be used. Okay, if you want to use any hash function, okay, for validating your data at the sender side, you will find out the hash value of your data and you will transfer it, and in the receiver side, using the same hashing function, they will calculate for the data what they have received. So both the received hash function and the calculated hash value both are same. Then the receiver will think that okay, there is no corruption happen, no intruder has changed the data. Okay, so in this way the authentication will happen. Okay, so here among the sender and receiver, SSL and TLS can be used for providing the confidentiality and authentication mechanisms among the sender and receiver data transfer. Okay, now let's see how the onion routing will be happening between the sender and receiver. Okay, so when they are the sender and receiver, when they are using the tar tool, how will it happen? We are going to see. So Alice wants to communicate to the destination web server through using the tar tool. Okay, so for that first she has to download the tar browser. Okay, so now we will be using one onion proxy for managing the tar details of this Alice. And here the onion router will be used to connect Alice to the web server. Okay, so in between onion routers, how will they be used, we'll see. So there are so many voluntary onion routers will be used, that will be called as pool of onion routers. Okay, so they will be used as the brokering intermediaries among the Alice and the web server in this example. Okay, so here we are using the tar tool. So which are all the valid onion routers, all those details will be stored in the database. Okay, so that database will be maintained by trusted third parties. Okay, they will manage the directories. Okay, so for example, consider Alice when she is transferring her data or receiving the data from the web server, she will be knowing the complete circuit through which circuit she is going to communicate to the web server. Okay, so that circuit will be that complete path, no, that only will call a circuit. Okay, so that will be through the onion router. So here for example, consider there are 3 routers will be involved in the circuit to transfer Alice data to the web server. Okay, so now the onion router 1, so it will be knowing the IP address of Alice. Okay, Alice also will know which is onion router 1, and Alice will know about onion router 2 and onion router 3 also. So she will be knowing the, she will share her own keys with onion router 1, one key will be there. Okay, with onion router 2 also another key, and with onion router 3 she will be having another key for data transfer. So Alice will first transfer data to onion router 1 through the secret key, which is shared between among them. So using the secret key, it will decrypt it. So within the decrypted message, if you see the encrypted message using the key which is known to Alice and the onion router 2, that will be there. Okay, and here the onion routers 1, 2, 3, they will not know who is the actual destination. Actual destination here is the web server. Okay, so now when the message is decrypted by onion router 1, it knows what is the next hop. Okay, onion router 2, so it will be transferred to onion okay, onion router 1, it will decrypt, right? So there the next hop address, that is onion router 2, its address will be there, and the another encrypted message which can be decrypted by onion router 2 will be there. So by knowing the address of onion router 2, it will be routed to it to OR2. OR2 is nothing but onion router 2. Okay, so now onion router 2 will receive the message from onion router 1. Now it knows the key to decrypt because Alice and onion router 2, both of them know the key value. Okay, so now it will decrypt it. When it decrypt it, it will know the address of the next hop, that is onion router 3, and another decrypted message will be there, sorry, encrypted message will be there. Okay, so that message can be decrypted only by using onion router 3 because it is encrypted using the key which is known to onion router 3 and Alice. Okay, so now it will be transferred, OR2 will transfer to OR3. Okay, OR refers to onion router. So now OR3 will receive the message from OR2. It will decrypt using the key which is shared among Alice and onion router. Okay, so now only onion router 3 will know that this is one example I am telling here. Okay, so it will know what is the destination address. Okay, so it will transfer to the web server. So this is the way how the data transfer happen among the Alice and the web server through the Tor tool, okay, using these onion routers. So now I told you that this Alice and the onion routers 1, 2, 3, no, they share the symmetric keys among them. Okay, it will not be known to one another. Okay, only Alice will know about all the symmetric keys, and among the routers also keys will be there. Again, symmetric keys will be used for confidentiality purpose. Those keys again will not be known to Alice. Okay, this is like it's based on the game called party game pass the parcel. Okay, so what happens, like if children or people, if they are sitting in a circular way, when they transfer the parcel among one another, no, they will for every pass one the outer cover will be removed. The same concept is used here for this onion routing also. Okay, so now let's move on to how Alice is using this Tor tool, okay, for wrapping up the communication in 3 different layers of symmetric encryption. Okay, so Alice will encrypt using the encryption key what she has shared with the first step. What she will do, first she will encrypt using the key which she has shared with the third onion router. Then that data she will encrypt using the key she has shared with the second onion router. Once again the same thing she will encrypt using the key which she has shared with the onion router 1. Then she will transfer that to the OR1. Okay, so this router 1, what it does, it will decrypt it, but still the message is wrapped. Okay, so that will be transferred to the router 2. Okay, so again the onion router 2 will remove the wrapper once again. Okay, it means that it will decrypt it, and again the encrypted data is there which can be decrypted by the next router. It will transfer to the onion router 3. So the final wrapping out will be done by the onion router 3. Then the data will be sent to the web server. This is like quite interesting how they have used onion routers in Tor communication. This is used only for anonymity purpose. So here Alice will not know the secret keys what the onion router 1 and 2 share, or what onion router 2 and 3 shares, or onion router 3 and web service. Okay, so that in that way the anonymity is maintained here. So for establishing the key, what are the various things considered that we are going to see? The first one is identity key pair. So among Alice and OR1, okay, one key pair. Between OR1 and OR2, one key pair. Between OR2 and OR3, another key pair. Between OR3 and the web server, another key pair. Okay, so the identity key pair will be used. Okay, that's for signing the certificate. Then onion key pairs also will be used. That's for confidentiality purpose. Then for establishing the SSL TLS connection key pair will be used. So in the first step, when we have seen when Alice is transferring the data, how many times she has to perform the encryption? 3. So that is triple encryption operation. So what is the core idea behind this solution? Okay, it's quite interesting. Already we have discussed about it. Okay, so first Alice will generate the symmetric key with the OR1. It will be shared among them. Okay. Then through OR1 she established the key with OR2. Then through OR1 and OR2 she established the key with OR3. Okay, so that is a core idea, and very intelligently they have built this, how it will work out. Okay, so between each and every onion routers, the Alice has the secret key shared among them. Okay, so the routers will not be knowing about it. Okay, so what is the secret key between Alice and onion router 2 will not be known to onion router 1 and onion router 3. Okay, that's like really very nicely they have built this Tor tool. Okay, so now let's see how the keys will be established among them. Okay, so using the Diffie-Hellman mechanism only they have done. Okay, so now Alice will use the SSL TLS connection with OR1. Okay, so further whatever the communication happen among them, that is through the secure channel. Okay, it's not in the public channel. To the secure channel it will happen, so because they will have the secret key for that channel. Then Alice will generate using the Diffie-Hellman algorithm. This concept already we have discussed. Okay, so she will create x1 and send to onion router 1. Okay, then using that onion router 1 will generate the public key. Again it will send back to Alice. Okay, so now gx1 will be known to Alice, gy1 will be known to onion router 1. So based on that, the private key value y1 will be calculated. Okay, and Alice and onion router 1 will, they'll know that how to generate this key value. Okay, the kf1, how to generate it they know. So similarly she will generate with for onion router 2 and onion router 3 also. Okay, so they will be called as like Alice will generate x2 and compute gx2 and transfer to over2. Okay, and here onion router 2 will generate gy2, so using which Alice and onion router 2 will calculate the key value kf2. Okay, similarly between Alice and onion router 3 also key will be generated. Okay, so with that we have reached the end of this class.